Have you ever asked yourself, what does it mean for me to live my best life? Hey, I'm your host, Randy Adkins Jr., and this podcast is Produce on Purpose. In this podcast, we explore experiencing life being the real you. That's right, the real you. It opens you up to possibilities of living a life full of joy, peace, and yes, freedom. In this podcast, we will explore spiritual foundational truths that lead to practical applications in our daily lives so that you can do what you've been created to do. What's the best life for us to way for us to live the best life, but to live a life that is fulfilling what our Creator made us to be. So that's what we're going to do, and we're going to explore throughout this podcast. And I'm so excited about this. This is season 1, episode 1. You weren't born to be an actor or an actress, to wear a mask every day, but you were born to be a producer. And that's the title of our first episode. I'm excited. Are you? Hey, let's jump right on in. Welcome to the Produce on Purpose podcast with your host, Randy Adkins Jr. I am so excited for this first episode in our podcast series. And what we're going to do is go through and talk about life. That's right. This is podcast is for leaders. It's for those who are wanting better out of life. I have just found so many nuggets throughout my life that I felt that I needed to write it down in my book, which is going to be coming out soon, Produce on Purpose. So be looking for that. And additionally, I wanted to start to share on a weekly basis information that's going to help us become better in not only physically, but spiritually and also within our minds and our souls. And so I think of a holistic view of us becoming the best versions of who we are. And so on this podcast, we're going to talk about experiencing life being the real you. And when I talk about the real you, that means that there is authenticity in who you are. That means that it is not that you're getting upset or angry to tell somebody off and tell them, hey, this is who I am, but that you are able to be real and be able to tell the truth and be honest. And in ways, we're going to have tools on how to do that in a great way with relationships, whether you are at home or you are at work or with your children. We're going to talk about how can we produce on the purpose that we were created for. And so in this episode, I wanted to start off by talking about that you have been born to be a producer. And that out of that, that means that we have to remove ourselves away from performance based living to being one that is intentionally producing in our lives. And so, what I have found over the years and as I was growing up is that a lot of what I've learned from our school systems, also from just growing up, you see it on television, and even as we move into our jobs, that everything that you have begins to be based on performance. And so, I want you to start to think about that. And I am also in a software consultant, and I'm a project management professional. And in that, we have in the project management, we also have this triad. It's like cost, schedule, and performance. And so performance becomes a part of everything that we do. However, I wanted to talk to you today and for us to discuss a little bit about what does it mean to be a producer And how does that really differentiate yourself from really being a performer? So I love this subject and it's exciting to talk about. What if I told you that the life that you're living is not really your real life? Ever thought about it this way? I remember as I had been going through some of the jobs that I had, and there was a need to be able to put on when you go to the job a particular way and who you were. So, for example, in the corporate place that you may be in, you may have to really present yourself in a different way than you would present yourself at home or maybe even with family. And that could be a little bit of acting. Many of us, we act and we don't even know it. We have become actors and actresses in our lives that allow us to put on these great performances. And what performances allow you to do is it allows you to put on masks. And so when we go back and we look at the real word and understand what acting has come from, when we look back, what people would do is they would put on masks and do a performance. And in life, we are often putting on masks. We're putting on mask of our emotions. Sometimes we're putting on masks to mask our feelings or mask what we really think about something. And I want us to be able to get in a place in our lives where you are free to describe and to discuss and to say whatever it is that is really on your mind and how you are feeling, and to be able to express it, of course, with the right timing, but that you are no longer acting, but that you are becoming a producer. So let me explain this a little bit, and why I want to go into this some more about our lives is when I look at television or we look at a movie, the person that we see on in the front of everything typically is a lead actress or actor that is on the screen, and they prepared for this scene, they prepared for this character. And when we sometimes see a good actor or actress, it's hard to delineate that this particular actor or actress actually might not be who they really are in this world. So in fact, there are many movies and many things that we watch, and we sometimes equate somebody with a role that they played, but that's not who they really are. You could watch a movie and you see somebody that is playing a particular thing, and whether it's someone that had played in a movie, and then you see them and you're calling them the name that's in the movie instead of who their real names. And many times I don't know the real actors and actresses' real name. But one of the things that I have found is just like with those movies, we are often living our life as a movie. We are living our life in a way that mirrors a movie, which means there are times when these movies they have beginnings and they have ends. They have crescendos, and so things never last always a long time. But as an actor and an actress, you get ready for the performance. But there's really no root behind being an actor and actress. There is a skill behind that, and everyone can learn that skill. There are things sometimes that we do that allow us to be actors and actresses. And I want to tell you that the actor and the actresses, even though they get paid pretty well if you become a blockbuster, they're not the ones that are actually calling most of the shots or even making the most of the money. Then you say, well, what about the director? Well, the director does have a little more creative abilities when it comes to doing things. And the director is the one that gives you the different camera angles and the different shots. And The director is the one that is sharing and telling the actors and actresses, hey, I want you over here or over there. And so the director does have a little more of what they do, but I am not going to share with you in your life to aspire to even be a director, but I am going to share with you to aspire to be a producer. Why a producer? Well, I'm going to go to scripture for a second here because everything that I do is based in scripture. And from everything that we talk about, we'll have some scripture related to it. And I believe in going back and looking at the scriptures to provide us a foundation. So in John 15, it says these words: Yes, I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who remain in me and I in them will produce much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. That's John 15 and 5. The reason I think about us being producers, just like a producer on a movie set, and instead of us trying to perform as many have been taught, even from school and everything else, that we would become producers. That means producers of our own life's film, our own life's mini series. That means that every time you go in, that you are the one that has to put everything together. And if you've ever taken a look at what it takes to make a film, there's a pre-production, there's the execution of the production of the movie, and there's a post-production and actual dissemination or the deployment of that movie at the time. So distribution happens of the movie. That happens in our lives. There are times we should be the producers. We shouldn't be actors and actresses, but we should be the producers. We should become the real creative person that we are supposed to be. And the reason I wanted to look at John 15 and 5 is because the creator, who is God, and I call him God, you may call him something else in your life, but there is a creative source that we have in this world that has created all things. And the basis of that is that there is an intelligence that God has provided for us to be able to connect to that is creative in nature. And it is what producers are made of. Producers are made of those creative forces that allow us to actually manifest many things in this world. How do the houses of this world get built? Well, first it becomes an idea in someone's mind, then it is put down onto a blueprint, which is then shared. That vision is shared with others, and you have multiple contractors come in from framing to building, putting plumbing, electricity into the home. And the same thing with our lives as producers. We should be ones that are creative, that we have ideas that God has put within each of us that we are to share with this world. And how can we do that in a great way to where we are not at the whim of someone else's direction? Oh, they might have just caught that. That as an actor and actress, you are really acting out someone else's script, you are acting out someone else's will, and you are being directed by a director. As a director, you are still under the producers, whoever they are. They may be some executive producers or whomever is working out that have put together the production team, that have put the money behind what is going on. And in fact, when it comes to the rewards, the ones that are rewarded the most are going to be the producers. And I'm going to encourage you in your life that you are a producer, that you have been born to be a producer. And the benefits of being a producer means that there is nothing in this world, nothing that is going on in this world that is not something that is obtainable. There is nothing that you cannot do when you are connected to God. And I wanted to share this because this is a piece of wisdom I think that we all have to begin to glean. Instead of trying to continue to perform, and you may have been performing, and it's okay. We all start there. We all have learned how to perform really well. But I want to move us. I want us all to have these discussions to move away from just performing to producing. Because in that scripture, it talks about us producing fruit. And I will go further later on, but the fruit that we are to produce are things that are not tangible in this world. Things like love. That's right. It's something that you can't touch, but it is eternal. Love is eternal. You have what we would call peace. Peace is eternal. And also, you can have freedom. There's real freedom in being the real you. What were you born to do? And some of us are looking for that purpose in our lives. And I don't want to just sit on that. We will talk about some purpose, but there are many books and many people who talk about purpose. But I want to talk about not only once you find your purpose, what do you do with that purpose? How do you move forward in life? What do you actually do with that? And so, some of the things that I want you to think about as we move further into more episodes is to number one, think about being a producer. Who do you need around you to support you for the vision? What does your script look like for your mini series called Your Life? How do you get to the real you if you've been putting on masks your entire life? And as you begin to pull away these different layers and you are producing on purpose with intention, and you are sharing to this world everything that you were born to do, then you are going to experience a fulfillment, a joy, a peace, and a freedom in your life that you've never experienced before. I like to put it this way: if I go in my kitchen today, and I go to my dishwasher and I try to put some food in the dishwasher to cook. My expectation is not for that dishwasher to be able to cook that food, because that was not the purpose of the dishwasher. The purpose of the dishwasher is to wash dishes. You have a purpose. Everything in this world has a purpose. When I wake up in the morning, and the sun rises every morning, even if it's behind the clouds, it still rises. It rises and it sunsets every day. There's a purpose behind that. There's night and day. There's purpose behind that. You also have a purpose. And as we explore that together, as we talk about and find out what your purpose really is, then we want to talk about ways that you can produce the right fruit, produce the right manifestations in this world, to produce to where you are contributing to society in a greater way, that it is something that you're going to be fulfilled about, you're going to enjoy, that you're going to be able to be a leader, a change agent, a go getter, one that can make the differences in your life. I'm so excited about this. I want you to also be able to begin to think about it, that as you begin to associate yourself with being a producer. And the first question that always comes about, like, I don't have the resources. I don't know how to do that. That's why we're here. I want you to continue to listen in to this podcast, and I want you to begin to think about, how can I move from being a performer? You might even have moved up to be a director in some cases. You're managing things, to moving to be a producer, to where you are being in your creative space way more than you are in anything else. How can you do that on your job? How can you do that in your family? How can you create space in your life to where you are excited about every day? that you're excited. It's not something that you're pumping yourself up to do, but you're excited about the opportunities of this day that is coming up and what you have in front of you. So I'm excited about it. Hopefully, you are as well, and that you are ready to be a producer. Understand that there are benefits to being a producer. The producer is the one that hires everybody and also has to fire everybody. You're going to have to get some people around you as you continue to be a producer and as you produce with intention. You're going to go out and you're going to get the resources that are needed to improve your life and improve the lives of those that are around you. You're going to go out and you're going to make a difference in this world in a bigger and a better way than you have ever done before. And we are going to end up with tools and techniques to be able to do that in a greater and stronger way as we are connected to the source of where we've come from. We are going to uh, end this particular episode here. I enjoyed it. I am going to ask that you would continue to share this podcast with your friends, with your families, have them be able to jump in on a weekly basis. Next week, we're going to go into an episode and talk about more about how we should be connected and that we should be connected to a source, the intelligence, and not just the resources of this world, but the source that keeps us going. And when we connect to that source, we need to connect to it in our bodies. We need to connect it to it in our mental and our minds, and we need to connect to it in our spirits. So it's going to be great for us to move forward. I am excited about it. I want to thank you for being a part of this podcast. Again, with your host, Randy Atkins Jr., and this is Produce on Purpose. See you next time.